Hi everyone, this is Ronnie J Cole II with EXP Realty, your local real estate agent here in the Georgia area. So today's topics, we're going to jump right into it. So what we're going to be talking about today is the buyer brokerage agreement. This particular agreement is the agreement that the real estate agent signs with the buyer who's looking for a home so that they can establish their relationship. So welcome back everyone. So today we're discussing the buyer brokerage agreement. And just to be plain and simple, the buyer brokerage agreement is basically a document that outlines what the real estate agent is going to do to help you in terms of buying a property. However, it also spells out our relationship between the buyer and the real estate agent, or actually the real estate agent's brokerage, the realtor's brokerage, and what you cannot do. And basically, you sign a buyer brokerage agreement so that everyone is on the same page in terms of what we are doing and the process, and to know, okay, this is what happens in the real estate buying process. Now, with this buyer brokerage agreement and how we even get to signing a buyer brokerage agreement, you as a buyer, you decide you want to purchase your home. Well, as I've talked about in some of my other videos, you can go back in the cards and look up there, or it might be up there, one of those places. But you can go back and look up in the cards and review my video on the buying process. The buying process goes over the entire process of buying a home from start to finish, from finding a realtor all the way to the closing table. So you can go take a look at that. But the buyer's brokerage agreement, and actually, it's changed. They call it now the exclusive buyer brokerage engagement agreement. Yeah. So that recently changed in 2021. So this agreement basically, once you decide you want to work with a realtor and you want to go ahead and find a home, right after you get your pre-approval and find out how much home you can afford, once you get that pre-approval letter from your lender telling you you can afford a $300,000 home or you can afford a $450,000 home, then you'll give that letter to your real estate agent. You'll show that to your real estate agent. You'll send them a copy. And so once that's done, your real estate agent will then have you sign a buyer brokerage agreement, which basically states that they're working with you to help you purchase a home. And like I said before, it protects the real estate agent and it also protects you throughout the buying process, because it establishes what we both are able to and what we both are able not to do. And so let's jump right in. So with the first section, this is section A of the buyer's brokerage agreement. Basically, it just outlines and tells you, this is the agreement, blase, blase. We go over term. Usually buyer brokerage agreements last anywhere from 3 months to 6 months. The standard is kind of like 6 months because it can take a long time to find a property, especially in this day and age with homes being so hot right now and the real estate market being so hot. There are 3 to 10 offers being put on every single home that's out there right now. So you should be writing your agreement for a lengthy period of time because you may be looking for a while. So that's one thing that you'll see in that particular agreement. We'll also describe agency, which is what we're able to do and how we're able to interact with the transaction. And it varies from state to state, so I'm not going to go into agency until I actually meet with you. So it also discusses commission. It talks about what the commission percentage will be for the real estate agent. The standard is 3%. Usually that's paid by the seller, so we'll jump right into that little topic. When you are working with a realtor, the buyer does not necessarily pay their realtor. The seller pays the realtor on both the selling side and on the buying side of the transaction. So 3% usually goes to the seller, and then 3% usually goes to the buyer's agent. But you as the buyer do not pay a commission. The only way that you will pay a commission is if you find a property in the real estate world we call FSBOs, which are basically for sale by owner properties. And those are properties that are not listed by a real estate agent. And a real estate agent may go, you may find this particular property, want to go take a look at it. The real estate agent will then talk with the owner of that property and say, hey, I have a buyer. Is it okay if I bring them by? And so at that point, usually, we'll have a discussion with the for sale by owner about commission. Some may say, hey, yeah, I'll pay a commission if you bring me a buyer. And some may say no. So you'll also see in this agreement outlined in this section to show that the buyer's agent will still get their 3% no matter we go through a FSBO or we go through a regular property that's listed by another realtor, real estate brokerage, etc., etc. And usually if you go through a FSBO and that buyer or that for sale by owner does not pay, then the 3% would be paid by the buyer. That's the only case really in which it could be paid by the buyer. But I'm sure there may be another case out there, but this is just the overview of what could happen. As well, if you guys decide you start off wanting to buy a home and then you decide, hey, I no longer want to buy a home, I want to lease a property or do a lease purchase, then there's also information in the buyer brokerage agreement that discusses the commission for the real estate agent. As well, it talks about that how the real estate agent is going to act on behalf of the buyer in the buying transaction. And just, what we're going to do, we're going to write up a purchase and sale agreement when you find the home that you like. And once we write up that purchase and sale agreement, then if it's accepted, then we go through the due diligence process, protected period. So also in this buyer brokerage agreement, it discusses, let's say, we had an agreement for 6 months. And after the 6-month period, we didn't find a home. And let's say, a week after we were working together, you found a property. And it may have been a property that, I showed you or something along that lines. Well, I will still, as the real estate agent, be entitled to a commission. And so usually there's a protected period. It can be 30 days, 60 days, 90 days after the buyer brokerage agreement has ended, so that in the event the buyer, which is you, discovers or finds a property, then the agent will get a commission. It also talks about the buyer's duties to the agent, and I'm going to read some of those to you guys. Basically, it talks about being available to see property when we find property, timely communicating with the real estate broker that you're working with, providing the broker with accurate and complete information, inspecting and becoming familiar with property that the buyer contracts to purchase. So we always tell you, do inspections. When you decide, and we decide to write a purchase and sale agreement on a home, we always tell you, do inspections. Now, in this hot market, there are some people who are not doing inspections because they want a home so bad. And sometimes that can backfire on you. You can be really jazzed and in tune and pumped and like, we want to win this. We want to win this property. We want to get this home. And you say, we'll forego all inspections. We just want to put in a full price offer. We'll go 5% over listing price. And we'll do a quick close, 2-week close if you got cash, if you can close quickly, and then we'll waive all inspections. Well, sometimes that can come back and bite you in the butt, because let's say you get the house, you move in, and then you find out that, there was foundation damage. You find out that there's mold in the basement. You find out that, the roof has a leak. I mean, several different things can come up, especially in older homes, nowadays. There could be electrical, plumbing, all kinds of problems. So I always tell my customers, get an inspection. So if we're not able to secure a property because we want an inspection, that may mean it's not the property for you. So broker's duties to the buyer. I have to make sure you're aware of all disclosures, which is required by law. I have to attempt to locate a property for you to buy. I have to comply with all laws. I have to assist you and the buyer in any way I can. I negotiate the terms of the purchase and sale agreement for you as well. So that's my contributions to this relationship. And more importantly, the reason why you sign a buyer brokerage agreement with your agent is because if I don't sign one with you, I haven't established a relationship, so therefore I can't give you advice. I can't tell you what you should and should not do. I can't tell you, well, I don't think you should buy this property. If an agent goes out with you, and some of you, and I've done this before, where I'll go out with a client, especially meeting them for the first time, and I'll go out and see one home with them, but I'm not going to give you tons of information or my thoughts, because legally we're not supposed to. Legally, we have to be in a contract, a binding agreement with you in order to be able to provide those duties and provide you with information. Now, some realtors don't care. They'll go out and show you 10 homes and then pray that you sign the buyer brokerage agreement and that you ultimately will work with them, and that backfires. But I don't work that way. I'll go see one with you. We'll establish our relationship, whether you like me or not. I'll decide if I like you. And then if we can work together, great. Or if not, we both go our separate ways. I must tell you about potentially fraudulent activity. So, if I find out that there's fraud taking place, I have to make sure that I, sound the alarm. Woo, 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 woo. Or, if I don't know that there's fraud, I don't know that there's fraud. Arbitration, if something happens, we get into a dispute, most of the time with GAR, the Georgia Association of Realtors, and the National Board of Realtors, they like to settle things through arbitration. So if there's a dispute that arises, instead of going to a court of law, they try to arbitrate the process. Lastly, beware of cyber fraud. There are cyber criminals out there who will ask you and try to get all of your information, who will send you an email and tell you to wire money to them. And they'll make it seem like they're with your closing attorney. And they're like, oh yeah, wire us money. And if you have questions, call this number. Don't do that. So if you know that your closing is taking place with, let's just say, Ronnie Cole Law Firm, and you get a crazy little email where maybe a letter is off in the email address, then I would suggest you go and Google Ronnie Cole Law Firm and then call Ronnie Cole Law Firm from the number that may be on Google, and then verify that information over the phone. There have been a ton of different scams out there where folks are trying to get people to wire money all over the place. And especially when you're buying a home, you think that it's your attorney telling you to send the money here, and it may not be. So we always tell you to be aware of that type of fraud. As well as with this buyer brokerage agreement, I'm going to send you all kinds of exhibits and disclosures, and we talked about that earlier. I have to make sure that you know, and it's going to be a lot of paper, folks. Unless you like email, I can email it to you, but there's going to be a lot of paper. So that's pretty much the buyer brokerage agreement. It just basically states we're working together. It states the time period we're working together. It states the commission that I'll receive as the buyer's agent. It states what my duties are to you to help you find property. It states what your duties are to me to be available when I find property and to communicate with me when we find property. I hope this video was informative. I hope that you found it to give you just enough information so you would know kind of what these agreements are when you meet with a real estate agent and know what they're talking about. So I've gone a little long, gone way longer than what I wanted to, but I hope this information helps. Hey, I look forward to meeting you. I look forward to speaking with you in person and to helping you find the home of your dreams. Again, this is Ronnie J Cole II with EXP Realty, and I look forward to speaking with you soon. I hope you have a great day. Bye-bye.